From 1979 to 1985, J.D. Barnett roamed the sidelines for VCU basketball, setting the standard of excellence that is VCU athletics. During his stay at VCU, J.D. accumulated a 132-48 overall record and led the Rams to 5 NCAA tournament appearances, with 4 of those resulting in first-round victories. We sat down with J.D. to find out what he's up to now and what those glory days were like.
What's up? What are you doing now?
Not much of anything. I play golf, do a little racquetball, lift a few weights, take care of my dog, go up, Tubby Smith hires me as a consultant, so I go up there about every other month and work with Tubby and a multitude of projects, from coaching aspects, fundraising aspects. They're getting ready to try to build a practice facility, so trying to give some input with that. Just a lot of things of that nature. I try to stay around the game.
Your 6-year period here is arguably the most successful time in VCU basketball history. And we could be here to your flight left talking about highlights. But what 1 or 2 things stand out to you as the best from that time frame?
Well, the greatest win that I always recall was the one in which we beat Northeastern. They had Reggie Lewis, who went on to be a great player at Northeast and then a great pro player. Jim Calhoun was the coach, obviously the UConn coach now. And Rolando Lamb makes a shot, shoots the ball, buzzer goes off, nothing but net, gigantic pile on at half court. That was a great, great win, phenomenal win. In that win, Northeast set an NCAA record for field goal percentage offense. We were holding people to about 42%, and they shot 70% in the game and got beat. That was very, very. Also, the win over ODU, the last game of the tournament, championship game in the tournament. Both teams played at such a high level. It was a great game. Led us to getting the number 2 seed in the Western Regional, and of course we were ranked 11th in the country in both polls at that time. So that was a very special game, just because of how high of level both teams performed at. They performed great, our players performed great. It was just a great game to watch.
I remember from covering some of your teams that you had a saying when you were recruiting athletes that you always mentioned the right fit, both for the university and your coaching style. How would you define that right fit? Who was the type of kid who succeeded for you?
Tough. You got to remember what VCU was like back in those days. Nothing like it was here. You know, we practiced in Franklin Street, had a campus that didn't have much to sell. Sometimes you'd want to bring a player in at night so he wouldn't see the campus during the day. And all of our kids came from urban environments, from the Bronx, D.C., Southside Chicago, Detroit, Compton, California, San Francisco, L.A., Atlanta. Those are the players that we had, and those are players that succeeded for us. Mike Slagle came from Long Island, and Mike wasn't highly recruited. It was us and Hofstra, and he kind of wanted to get away from home, and he was a high school quarterback at 6'8". So we found players that nobody really wanted to some degree or another. They had something that didn't make them attractive to the masses. You know, Calvin Duncan was the exception to that. Rolando Lamb was the exception to that. Michael Brown was the exception to that. Phil Stinney was the exception to that. Edmund was here when I got here, so I don't know the recruiting of Edmund and Monty Knight, but I know that in those particular cases, we were just able to find some players, and I think it says a lot about the players and how they played together, and the fact that none of these players went on and played in the NBA except Edmund. He played for a year and a half and tore his ACL up. They just fit together and was a great basketball team without any great individual players. Probably the best individual player was Calvin Duncan. And he was a great fit because of his toughness and his competitiveness and how much he wanted to win. He wanted to win, and they wanted to win so bad they were able to accept me and my wanting to win, and we were able to mesh together and form a good alliance. VCU was a great fit for me. It probably was a perfect fit for me. because the kind of player that we could recruit here was the kind of player that played best for me. Again, the tough urban kid who had a lot of moxie, had a lot of toughness, had lived a lot of life. You know, by the time he got here, he'd lived a full life, so to speak, just from his exposures to life at an early age that most people don't get exposed to, and some people never get exposed to before they die. This was the exactly right place for me. Didn't realize at the time, and at the time, our accomplishments, the team's accomplishments, and what those kids were able to do, you know, I just expected it. And then I look back on it, and those kids really did some magnificent things, given the set of circumstances that existed at that point in time. Like I say, I'm not selling the situation short. It's just that we didn't have a tremendous amount to offer, and the league was great. ODU was good. South Florida had Lee Rose. Western Kentucky had Clem Haskins. UAB had Gene Bartow. South Alabama had Cliff Ellis. UNC Charlotte had Mike Pratt, who was a star at Kentucky. Paul Webb, icon in his, both Randolph-Macon and Old Dominion, was at Old Dominion. It was a coaches league, and I think looking at the postseason, what happened in the postseason with the NIT and the NCAA, how successful these teams were as a whole, indicated how good it really was. Because when we got up with the big boys, we competed. Today's VCU is wonderful. Beautiful facility. You know, Norwood's done a great job with marketing and providing the elements for success, providing the resources for success, providing the environment for success. And Dr. Trani, what he's done for this institution as a whole, with the engineering and the business and the combination of business and engineering and all these wonderful facilities and buying up all this area around the campus to provide a safe, clean, beautiful environment. It's phenomenal. Whole different institution. I'd never recognize it.